How's it going, everybody? Forgot to fix something. How's it going? Welcome to a Friday edition of BlindEyeLive. Definitely BlindEyeLive. That's probably what my nickname's going to end up being. But welcome to BlindEyeLive. We got our AFC South Division preview today. We'll be getting into some pretty serious allegations against rookie punter Matt Araiza, known by some as the Punt God. He was that guy from San Diego State this past year that was just kicking the ball like, it seemed like 75, 80 yards every time he touched it. It was ridiculous. Well, let me... Okay. There we go. There's my monitor back. Boom. Okay. Now that's fixed. All right. So like I said, AFC South Division preview. We will also get into, like I said, the Matt Araiza allegations. Got some training camp notes on a bunch of rookie players. And kind of their roles and where they're at. I wish I'd done more or a little more deep diving into a couple of the other teams or a couple players just because I was like, I know that they're going to start day one. Apparently, I missed that Tyler Linderbaum has missed most of physical practices because of an injury he picked up early in training camp. He's still likely to start week one, though. Because he mentally, they are confident he has mastered the system, or at least knows it really well. That's not a shock to me. But we've got some other news stuffs as well. Let me pop over to set stuff up. All right. Oh, how about that? ESPN, how all the rookie first rounders are right on the front page of the website here. There's the Araiza accusations. So because I didn't stream yesterday, I didn't talk about the Rams-Bengals melee. If you haven't seen the video, just type in Aaron Donald Rams Bengals practice or something like that. Aaron Donald may have wielded two Bengals helmets and started swinging them at people. He hit one Bengals player in the helmet. Luckily, he was wearing a helmet, but hit him in the head. Just... Aaron Donald, more like Ndamukong Suh every day. Let's see. Denzel Mims, no shock, is frustrated in New York. He's requested a trade. He was a 2020 second-round pick. I talked a little bit about him during the Jets season preview earlier this week. Mims is not getting the time he wants, and part of the reason is, well, you're not better than those other guys, or you would be. And I hate to say that because I was really looking forward to his prospects. 49ers safety Jimmy Ward, hamstring, likely going to the injured reserve. That's serious. That means he's going to miss at least the first 6 weeks of the season. Or it could be more serious than that. Brady is expected to play in the Buccaneers' final preseason game. Of course, infamously taking that leave of absence early in training camp to deal with some personal stuff. And the Rams have hired on Jay Gruden, former Washington Commanders coach back before they did the multiple name changes. I don't want to get demonetized, so I won't use that name. Los Angeles Rams hired Jay Gruden. So I mentioned Wednesday on the show that Chet Holmgren had picked up a foot injury. Well, Chet's out for the rest of the season, which makes me assume it was a Jones or even more likely and more dangerously a Liz Frank injury. Which, I would say this. Maybe don't do Pro-Am games when you're 7'1", 195 pounds. He's got a weird body type. Now, you might say, well, why was Paolo Banchero then? Why is it okay for him? I'd prefer he not either. Why is it? LeBron James was there. It's LeBron. He's played he's going into what, year 20? Or year 19? I think it's year 20. And with the Lakers where they're at, who cares? Jason Tatum, of course, playing at crossover. Should we criticize him? Or there were a couple other guys that I'm blanking on right now. Here's where I would push back. LeBron, Tatum, Paolo, those guys have bigger body builds. They're more stout and they're more developed physically. Paolo Banchero is 6'10", 250. And rugged looking. If anything, he's built kind of like a LeBron. Except bigger. He's not LeBron. Don't think I'm comparing him basketball-wise to LeBron. I'm just bodies. Jason Tatum's 6'8", 230, 225, somewhere in there. Several years of NBA development on his body. I'm not worried about those guys physically. Chet is 7'1", 195. He weighs 15 more pounds than me, and he's over a foot taller, people. Actually, maybe it's 20 pounds, whatever. 15, 20 pounds. And he's 15, 16 inches taller than me. That, he can't take... He needs to protect his body as much as possible. As much as possible. So, that being said, trying to decide the order I want to do things. I'll tell you what. There was something I saw yesterday that I want to look at, if I can find it. Jordan Reed put out an initial mock draft for this 2023 cycle before the college and pro season start. Here it is. Let's go through this real quick before I get into my season preview, because I like to talk about stuff like this. And hopefully, y'all enjoyed this too, because that was my content this spring for the most part. So, no surprise he's got New York Jets taking Will Anderson. That's interesting. He thinks they'll be number one. I think the Jets are probably the highest variance team in the league. It's them and the Jaguars, in my opinion, because I think both these teams have good enough rosters that if their young quarterbacks really take a big step, which right now I've kind of flipped the Jaguars and the Jets from what I've seen out of Trevor Lawrence in preseason. I would take the Jets roster over the Jaguars. But I think, and the coaching staff, but I think Lawrence it's clicked. Lawrence is real. Of course, with Mekhi Becton going down for the season, this is going to be really interesting moving forward. Will Anderson is the number one player in this draft. And he will be next year. A quarterback might go number one, depending on who ends up at the top and what happens this year. Will Anderson's the best player in this draft class. And outside, if we take quarterbacks off the table, he's the best prospect to enter the draft in the last 5 years, in my opinion. Anderson's ridiculous. Like, people throw around generational talent. Like, Will Anderson is a generational talent. I almost want to say, like, he's an out-of-this-world talent. Like, he should have won the Heisman last year. Anyway, let's move on. The team that I think will end up with the number one pick is the Chicago Bears. They have, or Reed has them taking Jalen Carter. Which, this offensive line class is going to have to prove it to get people up into, like, the top 5 range. So, I get it. And in these situations here, Reed is projecting that Wilson and Fields are going to make it to year 3. I don't know about Fields, and it's not his fault. I don't blame Fields for where he's at. And I'll say this. If Fields can make himself look competent and have a future long term despite the lack of help he was given this offseason, Fields' future's going to be bright. But, man, this season, I love Velus Jones. I really like Darryl Mooney, but to me, Mooney's a number 2. Velus Jones, like, he's a high-end role-playing receiver to me. Like, no, maybe a number 2, but I think, like, he can be a Deebo Samuel light, potentially, but I don't know if he can make it all the way to being Deebo. Now, he's faster, and he'll give you, like, a lot of returning, like, he gives you return ability for sure, but I don't know. Like, but for this year, I think it's a stretch to say Velus Jones is going to be, like, some lights-out option for Fields. But we'll see. But he's got Jalen Carter, and this almost seems like a rankings too for him. Like, Will Anderson's the number 1 prospect. Carter's a top 5, if not for a lot of people, like number 2, number 3 on their boards. Texans going with C.J. Stroud, number 3. I hate it for Davis Mills, but because he looked really good at the end of last season, but unless he just really shows out this year, Texans are drafting a higher-end quarterback. And, I mean, it's not a given that Mills is going to play this entire year like he closed out the season last year. Or if even that would be enough. Jaguars, Keontae Booty. So, Booty, or I think it's Booty. Or Booty. But anyway, Kayshawn is Reed's number 1 receiver. I agree with that. I think he's the number 1 receiver going into this year's draft. Or going into the season. And the Jaguars need a number 1 receiver for Lawrence moving forward. Falcons at 5, Bryce Young. I mean, if you're able to get your hands on him, Young's a better prospect than Ritter. So, Steelers, number 6, Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern. My issue with him is he's a little slim for my taste. Like, he plays under 300 pounds. That doesn't mean he can't make it, but his technique's great. He's a really sound player. But I don't think he's better than Rashawn Slater was in 2020. And Slater didn't go in the top 10. Let's see. Panthers, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Dude, they're receiving, which I think Anderson's a free agent after the season. But I'm just saying, imagine having DJ Moore and Jackson Smith and Jigba if you're a quarterback. Detroit Lions, Will Levis. Man, I'm 50-50 on this. Like, I like Levis, but I don't think he's top 10. Like, I don't think he's better than Hendon Hooker at Tennessee. I get he's younger than Hooker, but I don't see Will Levis as a top 10 guy. Not now. He's going to have to really show out this season to get me there. I'm worried some people are about to get, like, Blake Bortles burned by Levis. I mean, I think he's better than Bortles, but that's not saying much. Seahawks, number 9, Nolan Smith, edge out of Georgia. Okay. I could see that. Giants with Anthony Richardson. Man, everybody's high on him. The word out of Florida camp, they think, Anthony Richardson's the guy. It would shock me less if Anthony Richardson's up in the top 10 than Will Levis. But once again, I don't even know if it's a given that Richardson ends up in this year's draft, depending on how the season goes in Florida. Because he's still got to learn to take care of the ball. This is a lot of projection on those two quarterbacks. Keely Ringo, out of Georgia, number 1 corner, going to the Commanders at 11. That fits. Miami Dolphins, you've got Trenton Simpson, inside linebacker at Clemson. This is what I mean. Clemson lost two of their, or two starting linebackers. The best one's still there at Clemson. I think I talked about them on the show this week, or maybe it was a conversation with someone else. I can't remember. But I could see Simpson going that high, but he's not my linebacker 1 or off-ball linebacker 1. And it's interesting because this is the San Francisco 49ers pick. I don't think the 49ers are going to end up with the 12th pick. I think that's a playoff team. I think Trey Lance and that offense are going to shock the world this year. All these other teams, like being up here, fits to me. I think the Lions are really going to improve. I actually, and I don't, and this is the thing, I don't think the Steelers are going to be picking 6th. If so, like, this is going to be a disaster of a year. That would shock me. I do think the Panthers are going to pick in the top 10 again. And they're going to have a new staff and potentially front office next year. I think the Seahawks are going to be worse than 9th because they're playing in the NFC West. And I'd argue they're going to have the worst quarterback play of any team this year, tape to tape. And I don't believe in Daniel Jones, so I think they're going to be a top 10 team, although they're going to be at the back end. But I don't think the 49ers are going to end up that low. The Dolphins aren't going to get picked that high, I don't think. And the Titans are making the playoffs, and they're winning the AFC South this year. So I don't, spoilers for my season preview, don't think we're going to be in the range to get Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame. I'd love to get him. Man, a tight end duo of Mayer and Chigakonkwo, like going forward, would like give it to me, like inject that in my veins. But no. And the Bengals, I've got them winning the AFC North this year. So if they get Cam Smith, it's going to be in the 20s, not at 14. Philadelphia Eagles, Brian Brees, defensive tackle. That'd be weird for them to take another interior defensive lineman in the first round. I definitely think they'd be going edge by that point. But we don't know what the prospects are really going to end up like. But I mean, that's about the range I expect Brees to go in next year or in the spring. Brees is awesome. The Raiders here, Jalen Duncan, offensive tackle on Maryland. That's interesting with Duncan as a first-round guy. He's got talent. I don't have him ahead of Paris Johnson, though. He's got the Patriots. Maybe he's using some ESPN FPI deal for his mock draft and ranking these teams. But that's interesting. Johnson would be a great fit on the Patriots offensive line, though. He would replace Trent Brown. They've still got Isaiah Wynn. Let's see. Eagles. And the Eagles have another first-round pick. Or no. Yeah. Because this is the Saints pick at 15. I think the Saints are going to finish with a better record than the Eagles, so maybe flip these picks. And then they take edge Miles Murphy. You know, if they came away with Brees and Murphy from 2 first-round picks, I mean, their defensive line, they're doing like the Washington Commanders philosophy from the end of from like 2016 or 2017 to like 2020. You know, all these like freaking defensive linemen in the first round. And then Jordan Addison at 19 of the Ravens. Ooh, boy. Are they going to get a new offensive coordinator, though, going into next year? Because, like, I don't know why you'd have Bateman and Addison, because you're really only going to throw to one of them. Isaiah Foskey into the Vikings at 20. I think Foskey's a guy who could end up in the top 10. I really do. Christian Gonzalez, corner to Oregon. I'm not seeing anyone with him in their first-round mix yet, so that's interesting. To the Cardinals. Tyson Wilson, edge, Texas Tech. Another guy I haven't seen. Tyree Wilson. Going to the Texans out of Texas Tech via Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland's going to finish this well because they're going to be without Watson for 11 games, and as good as that roster is, if Brissett's the starter, they're going to underachieve because he's not playing on a team coached by Bill Belichick or Frank Reich. He's playing for Kevin Stefanski. And I don't believe I think Kevin Stefanski's potentially going to get fired after this year. Because I think they can do better. And I tell you, like, maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I'm not a fan of Stefanski. Chiefs at 23. That's a little interesting. Andre Carter II, edge out of Army. I think he's going to go higher than 23. His tools are ridiculous. Tyler Van Dyke, quarterback Miami, Florida, to the Seahawks at 24 via Denver. Interesting. Denver being this good. It wouldn't necessarily shock me, but I don't think they're going to be better than the Chiefs. So Tyler Van Dyke at 24. See, right now, I've got Van Dyke ahead of Levis and Richardson. Because I think he's better at playing quarterback. Maybe he's not the athlete the other two are, but he's a better quarterback. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Eli Ricks at 25. Yeah, he fits the profile of what Tampa Bay likes to draft. Tall, long, fast, twitchy SEC corner. Yeah, that fits. Indianapolis Colts at 26. I don't think the Colts are going to be this good. I just don't. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be in playoff contention. They're not better than the Titans. I don't think they're better than the Titans. They're going to have to prove it. Quentin Johnston, wide receiver at TCU, he's not going in the first round. I'm going to tell you that right now. Calling it now. He's not going in the first round. He's more likely to go. I think he's more likely to end up in day 3 in the first round. I think he's going to be a 3rd-round pick. Detroit Lions at 27. Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas. If a team's going to draft a running back in the first round, it's going to be the team coached by Dan Campbell. This is the Rams pick, so he's got the or whatever he's got making his rankings here. Rams finishing pretty high and winning the NFC West. I mean, Robinson's a 1st-round caliber running back, so, but we'll see. Chargers at 28 here, meaning he's got the Chargers winning the AFC West like I do. Siaki Ika, defensive tackle from Baylor, formerly of LSU, 6'4", 358. He's a big old boy. If you're drafting him, you're looking for Vita Vea. Excuse me. All right, so I've got an emergency that I'm having to deal with the contractors, so I'm gonna end the stream after I finish these picks up real quick, and then I'll be back on at. I'll try to be back on around 4:30 or 4:20 or so, 4:15, as quickly as possible. So you're gonna get a second shorter stream or a second short stream today. 29 Cowboys. Nephi Sewell. This is my linebacker one. Or not Nephi, he was drafted this year. Noah Sewell. Noah Sewell, the youngest of the Sewell brothers. At least I don't think there's any more of them. Inside linebacker, Oregon. He'd be a great fit for the Cowboys. Him and Parsons, oh gosh. Packers at 30. Jaheim Bell, tight end out of South Carolina. I could see him getting into the first round. He's extremely talented. Bills, Antonio Johnson, safety out of A&M. Totally agree. And there won't be a 32nd pick because the Dolphins lost their own selection, I think, this year. I hate when they take draft picks away like that. I'd rather them like just be forced to send it to the team they tampered against or whatever or something. That's just stupid. But anyway, I will be back with my preview shortly. So sorry for that.